The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Hello and welcome to the Epic Love Show. My name is Travis Suit and I will be your host today. The Epic Love Show is brought to you by the Piper's Angels Foundation. Thank you everybody every week for tuning in and watching and listening out there on Facebook Live and on YouTube Live as well. You can watch this show and listen on playback on iHeartRadio, Pandora, or Spotify. And each week, we bring you epic love in an effort to share inspiring stories of love through action. And this week, we definitely have an inspiring guest, Mr. Alex Schulze of 4Ocean. We'll be bringing him on in just a minute here, so stick around. Also in studio, we have the epic jokester.
What's going on?
How
Travis?
you doing? The audio-visual engineer here keeping us on track for the show this evening.
The ever-learning audio-visual.
It's an ongoing process.
It's an ongoing process, absolutely.
So do you got any dad jokes for us this week?
I do. You know, with the weather and everything going on, you know, different animals and stuff like that start to emerge. So I saw a snake that was 3.4 meters long, 3.14 meters long. It was a python.
The mathematical jokes.
The mathematical jokes.
Strike again.
All right.
There was another pie joke we had recently.
We did, yeah. What do you get when you cross a biscuit with a steamroller?
A biscuit with a steamroller. I have no idea.
Crumbs.
Nice.
All right.
Very nice. Well, thank you for bringing the comedic relief here at the beginning of the show.
Absolutely.
Always welcome.
That's my contribution to the show every week.
And as always, everybody out there who's watching on Facebook Live or on YouTube, please feel free to drop comments. We love to hear your feedback. Thank you, everybody who's subscribed to our YouTube channel. We appreciate it. So this week, we have a very, very special guest. Mr. Alex Schulze is the co-founder of 4Ocean, an ocean cleanup company based in Boca Raton, Florida, where he currently resides. Alex was born and raised on the west coast of Florida and grew up surfing, fishing, and diving, and developed a passion for the beaches and ocean. He understands the importance and connection to the ocean, which is why he was stoked to help Piper's Angels Foundation, and he recently joined the advisory board earlier this year. Welcome to the Epic Love Show, Alex.
I appreciate you having me on, Travis.
Absolutely. We're excited to have you on as well. So, you know, I love to celebrate the entrepreneurial spirit, and I really love the 4Ocean story. And it's actually really interesting because 4Ocean was launched in January of 2017, right?
Correct. Yeah, January 2017.
And that was actually the same month that Piper's Angels Foundation got its tax exemption status from the IRS. So kind of a unique parallel. Yeah, interesting. So take us back, and I would love to hear a little bit. I know a lot of people are huge fans of 4Ocean, especially in the crossing for CF community, because they're ocean paddlers or they're boaters, people who are very who are out there in the environment day in and day out. But for people who may not know your story or the backstory, what were the early days of 4Ocean like? From that time of conception when the idea started to brew to the point where it actually started to begin to turn into a reality.
Sure. So 4Ocean started in January 2017. Myself and a good buddy of mine, Andrew Cooper, we founded 4Ocean. And it started all basically when we realized the amount of plastic that's in the ocean. And we wanted to come up with a business model. We both graduated from FAU with degrees in business management and entrepreneurship. And, we both had always been entrepreneurial. We always wanted to, start a business around something we're passionate about. And we're both surfers, fishermen, divers. We've grown up on the ocean. As you mentioned, I grew up over on the west coast of Marco. West coast of Florida on Marco Island. And we graduated college. We wanted to start a business around it. And it wasn't until seeing, massive amounts of plastic in the ocean that we realized that we wanted to start a business model, leveraging a model that other brands have been successful with to try and create an opportunity to clean up the plastic by selling the product. So we came up with the idea for the 4Ocean bracelet, and for every bracelet purchase, we'd remove 1 pound of trash from the ocean. We started in 2017, and it started to really take off, and people have been just absolutely amazing. And it's grown into 4 international locations. So now we have cleanup headquarters in Florida, Bali, Haiti, and Guatemala. And it's just been unbelievable. We have full-time employees that are cleaning the ocean 7 days a week. And I'm incredibly stoked to say that we just passed our 9 millionth pound of trash removed from the ocean. So beyond stoked for that.
Wow. Yeah, congratulations. A big round of applause for the surpassing the 9 million pounds. That's absolutely incredible. So you mentioned that there's 4 international locations is that where the cleanups are taking place?
Correct. So we have our regional headquarters in each one of those locations, and that's where we have captains and crew that are going out on vessels, and as well as beach teams, particularly in Bali, that are going out and cleaning up these coastlines, these different areas, and cleaning the ocean. And they're bringing all the plastic back to our regional facility, where it's then weighed, documented, photographed, sorted by type, color, and condition, and then prepared for future recycling.
Wow, that's quite an interesting process. So when the plastic is recovered and brought back, what's the hardest part about that process? Is it the separating of it, or what is the actual the most difficult part of that?
So I think the most difficult part when it comes to our cleanup operations is really dealing with dirty and contaminated plastic, and maybe not plastic, but other materials, right? Our crews are collecting everything. You name it, tires. In Florida, we got a ton of scooters. There's so many things that they're cleaning out of the ocean. And one of the most difficult things for us is to find sustainable solutions for those materials. So trying to find out, in order to recycle effectively, you need to sort and clean thoroughly in order to be able to recycle materials. So, you think about the materials that are in the ocean, and some of the hardest things for us are when we get these, incredibly contaminated, really, really dirty materials. Our teams have seen it all. And we're trying to find the most sustainable solutions on how to recycle those materials, and if not able to be recycled, the most sustainable way to dispose of them. So that's what we're working, in every single country, every single location is different. And that's, it's a constant and evolving process that our teams are always working through to find new partners and find a way to sustainably and efficiently recycle it. Because from an economic standpoint, it's incredibly hard to export, waste and be able to import, export, and the cost involved in shipping. It's very hard, So it's a constant struggle that our teams face. But our team does an amazing job, and it's something that we're just working to get better and better at every single day.
Yeah, and I would imagine it's got to be a a major challenge working in international territories and countries. Is the plan to continue to expand to other international locations?
Without a doubt. We started when we first started 4Ocean, we started here locally in Florida. This is our backyard. We came up with the idea for the business model, and we said, I'm a licensed captain. My business partner Andrew, he's a licensed captain, and we said, like, listen, let's prove the model out. Let's go and clean the ocean ourselves. Let's develop enough of a following, and then we'll be able to start hiring our captains, and let's build out that business model and make sure that it works. Right? We had to get the proof of concept. And, it wasn't until we really started scaling here in Florida that, we realized in order to have the most impact, we need to go after high impact zones. I mean, Florida is an amazing and beautiful place, but,
right.
When you really look at it compared to some of these other areas, it's Southeast Florida. It's pretty clean. I mean, there is without a doubt still plastic from consumers and people consuming plastic and ending up in the ocean. But I mean, when you compare to like Haiti and Bali and some of these different areas where there's just millions of pounds of plastic just pouring into the ocean during these heavy rains and heavy floods, and like when you see photos, it wasn't until our first trip, Andrew and I, it was actually a pretty gnarly story. We wanted to expand into a new location, so we went to Haiti. We literally went on Google Maps and just tracked along the coastlines. And saw from Google Maps, if you look onto it in the Port-au-Prince area, it looks like rocks and it looks like different, sand and debris and stuff like that. It is just football fields upon football fields of plastic. And, Andrew and I literally went over there on a day trip and we booked a flight and we flew over to Haiti for the day. We booked a taxi cab driver and just said, listen, we want you to take us to the gnarliest places that you guys have in these beaches and coastlines. Like, we want to see where is all this plastic ending up? Because there's so much plastic that's ending up on our coastlines here in the States, that's coming from that area. A lot of it has Creole on it. A lot of it has, all the different materials that are ending up right on our coastline. We said, listen, let's track it back. And when we got there, it was unbelievable. We went to just an area where it's hard to understand that it exists, right? It's kind of out of sight, out of mind for a lot of people. But, we stood on football fields of plastic, 10 feet deep right on the coastline. And it was at that point we realized, we need to start targeting these international areas. So, to answer your question, we're trying to expand into as many international areas as, high impact areas that we can. And we actually just opened up our new location in Guatemala.
Oh, wow. And how has that been going there?
It's been tough. We got our headquarters set. We brought all our equipment and all of our materials down there. We got our location for our headquarters. We sent down our shipping container that's converted into an office. It's actually pretty cool, man. It runs 100% on solar, and it's a self-contained. Wow. But we got all of our stuff down there. We got everything teed up. We were ready to begin and ready to start, and then the pandemic hit. So we've got all of we're sitting on the starting line ready to rock and roll. And we actually just started, I believe yesterday or the day before, but only with a 2-person crew just to start right now, just to get it going. But we're waiting till we can truly begin and start to hiring our crew there and initiate our new cleanup location.
Yeah, well, that's fantastic that you guys are expanding. How many employees do you estimate that you have working around the world at this point in time in the cleanup effort?
In the cleanup side of things, I believe it depends. I think we're probably at about 185. I think we're right in that area, in between 170 and 185. And it fluctuates based on, sometimes in different seasons and different amounts of plastic that's entering the ocean. So, for example, during rainy season, we really staff up because the areas are much more polluted.
Yeah. If somebody would have asked you in 2015, if you could see the future and could tell you that you would have hundreds of people around the world helping to clean up over 9 million pounds of plastic out of the ocean,
dude,
I'm sure that would have made you feel pretty amazing.
Yeah, I would have told you that you were crazy. I mean, Andrew and I literally starting this business, we never ever imagined that it was going to be this large. We just kind of grabbed a hold and went for the wild ride. And I think that it's been crazy, seeing how quickly it's scaled. And it's been exactly that. It's been a roller coaster. It's been amazing at times. It's been incredibly tough at times. And at the end of the day, I wouldn't change it for anything. I love the business, love what we're doing, and it's amazing to start a business and career that you're passionate about. And I think that it's incredibly important for everybody out there to have that passion, that drive.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as an entrepreneur, in expanding a business like this, what is, for other entrepreneurs out there listening, I mean, what is the hardest thing that you've had to overcome, or what are the hardest challenges that you face on a regular basis that really test your mettle?
Yeah, test the mettle. I think some of the hardest things, are without a doubt are the difficulties that come with scaling very quickly. There's so many different moving pieces, and things are moving so quickly that you need to be able to just stop and take a breath and really see how everything is going, and be able to strategically plan and work with your team and rely on your team to help grow, the business and the entire operation. I think that that's been very tough, trying to scale very quickly and not having the opportunity to slow down and work through everything and work with your team. And people, right? You have a vision and a mission and what you want to try and create. And as you continue to bring people in, just keeping everybody aligned and understanding what we're all working towards and really trying to drive that mission forward. It's something that is you have to take care of the culture. And that's something that we're learning. We're new to this. Andrew and I, we've never done this before. So it's something that we're learning, and we're doing everything we can to become better at it. But it's a learning curve, and don't ever kind of stop and then continue to learn and just slow down and work with the team.
Yeah, that's some great feedback. And in the Piper's Angels world, with producing the crossing, which was an event that, similarly as an event scaled, from just a few paddlers and a couple boats to, hundreds of people going to Bimini and bringing everybody together. And I think we face similar challenges in that, often we'll have committee meetings, or at least we did prior to the pandemic, where you'd have 50, 60 people who show up at a meeting. And that can take away from some of the intimacy of the early days, quote unquote, when it was just a handful of people and we were all right there on top of each other and we were able to communicate about what was going on. And now you have more people to manage. And there's, the great thing is the vision, when you're holding that vision, that you're able to have a greater impact. Like for us, we're able to expand our programs. We've been able to serve more families in the CF community, but it is definitely a challenge when you start involving hundreds of people and you have so many volunteers and so much going on, and when it happens that quickly.
Yeah, no, sure. I know exactly what you're saying. Well, seeing your guys' operation over in Bimini, it's unbelievable to think of the logistics and how many moving parts that you have, from aligning the captain's meetings and aligning everybody on the beach and check-ins and this. That's exactly it. You guys are just, you're scaling quickly, but you guys are crushing it, man. I'm blown away at it.
Yeah, thank you. Well, we appreciate your support and coming over to Bimini. We were super bummed that we weren't able to do the crossing this year, but we're all looking forward to 2021 and holding the intention and the vision of having a spectacular, a beautiful year and coming together. So, kind of on that same note that you were just talking about, most people, when they wade fully into the world's toughest wounds, you could say, right? I mean, this is a major problem and need that you guys are addressing. Often people find it hard to maintain a positive outlook. And so what perspective and tools do you have to keep a balanced mindset and an open heart to what's going on?
Are you referring to the ocean plastic crisis as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, just as you face this and you've grown into this, kind of the maturity of the organization, and you as a community, as a global leader in this space, what do you do just on a personal level to kind of maintain your own balance and keep a positive mindset and an open heart to what's out there? Because sometimes you can get into something and you get so close to it, you realize, wow, it's not as simple as it seems. And that can have an effect on your own outlook and your own, what you bring to it.
No, and I think you're absolutely right. A few phrases that we use in this industry, and what we try and live by is, progress, not perfection, right? We're see, simple steps, small actions collectively make up a huge impact. And I think that it's very easy to get overwhelmed, right? When you think about the ocean plastic crisis as a whole, and consumers, right? They say, like, I use so much plastic, what is turning down that water bottle, or not recycling this plastic, what impact does that have? But it's a matter of just the simple steps and small steps that really add up. And I think that just trying to stay positive and understand, it's always been a dream to leverage a brand, right? With 4Ocean, we've really tried to build a brand and build a community, because we feel that collectively, as a group, the level of impact that we can have is unbelievable, which is why we've always gone above and beyond to try and make cleaning the ocean cool, right? Make sustainability cool. And that's what we're trying to do, and just leverage, these mainstream social media platforms to show people that, it's no longer the Marlboro man, smoking a Marlboro Red and flicking it, that's like the cool dude. But it's rather like, now let's shoot for a sustainable future, and keeping our oceans clean, for not only for us, but for future generations. And that's really what we're trying to just lean into. And I think that, for me to just stay positive and motivated, it's just looking back at how much we've accomplished in such a little amount of time. It's just, I'm blown away, and seeing, and talking to the community, and how passionate people are, and just realizing, like, that's the fire, right? That's how it keeps us going. And I think that that's what's going to continue to propel 4Ocean and just the whole clean ocean movement forward, because, as you mentioned, it's so desperately needed, and it's without a doubt, it's time. So it's just got to stay positive. Glass is always half. Just gotta stay positive.
For sure. Well, that's one of our taglines here with the show, is to promote the positive. So a big reason why we have you joining us, and why we're so excited to have you as an advisor to the board of Piper's Angels Foundation and building community. I think you hit that one right on the head, because as far as in the cystic fibrosis community, you don't have a huge population of people who are affected. It's really only 30,000 people in the U.S. It's considered an orphan disease, maybe 100,000 worldwide. And so what I have found, and the greatest joy that I've seen come out of what we do with Piper's Angels, is rallying the community and is building community. And I have seen it firsthand, being here in Florida, being on the waterways here, seeing the 4Ocean boats out there. It's so uplifting when you're paddling down the intercoastal and you look up and you see a 4Ocean branded boat, and here it comes, right? And they're dipping trash out. I mean, just the feeling, because we always try to pick up stuff along the way. You do what you can, but to know that there's a greater effort going on. And I think that's what you guys have done so brilliantly, is you've created an affinity for a brand that has built a community with a focused intention, and that we're all holding that vision together. And the people who wear 4Ocean, hats, shirts, bracelets, people buying the bracelets to support the cause, they're feverishly passionate. They're not your average supporters. They're, they support with their full hearts behind it, for sure. And you see that everywhere you go. Like when we go to Surf Expo every year, it's just like everybody, because it's one thing that everybody can rally around and behind, and it's pretty powerful.
And I appreciate the kind words, man. I think you're absolutely right. That's the one thing that I've been really blown away by, is just that community, and exactly as you mentioned, how passionate people are, right? I think some of the funnest times for me are, some of our cleanups. I always come home so exhausted after our cleanups, but it's a great exhausted, because I come home hoarse, just because, getting to meet everyone out there and talk with everybody about, the overall impact that we as a community together have. It's unbelievable. And people are just so fired up, right? They love to get out there, get together. And like you said, the level of commitment is so strong, and it's amazing to see. And that's exactly what we're trying to do, is create that community of people that all, believe in a better, cleaner, and healthier ocean for the future. So, it's amazing to see. And I think you're absolutely right. It is unbelievable to see how fired up people are.
Yeah, absolutely. So with the current circumstances with the pandemic, I mean, how has that affected or challenged kind of the workplace and business as you guys have expanded? And are there any positives to what you have seen as coming out of this?
It's been very tough. With our business model, we sell products to fund our cleanups, and COVID, without a doubt, had a massive impact on our business. Unfortunately, a very large portion of our business was brick and mortar retail stores, so surf shops, gift shops, big retail outlets. And when COVID hit and the lockdowns hit, all of our retail business essentially went to zero. So, a considerable amount of our revenue just disappeared overnight. And unfortunately, we had to lay some staff members off, and we had to do what we had to do to survive. And that was, some of the hardest discussions and decisions we've ever had to make. And, we're still just hunkered down right now, doing everything we can to push through. And the team has been doing an unbelievable job, and we're thankful to say that, we're starting to see some stores start to open up, and things are starting to pick up the pace, and which is great. But we're by no means are we back to where we were, and it's been incredibly tough. And I think that it's forcing us to really, really just hunker down and be conservative in these times, and because we don't know what the future is going to hold, right? If another lockdown comes out, that could just be a whole nother round of struggles for us. And that's where we're really just trying to be safe, be smart, and get back to where we were. Our cleanup teams, were on pause. A lot of them, in the different countries, were not allowed to clean up. They weren't considered essential business for some of these areas. So we're actually, Bali was able to stay online for a portion. We have 5 different locations in Bali, and some of those locations, there weren't that many cases in that area, and it was a different scenario there. So we were able to clean. But for example, Haiti, we had to shut down, and we had to just put everything on pause. But we're stoked to say that Bali's back online. Haiti is all the way back online. Our Florida operations right now is slowly coming back online. It's been incredibly tough for us. We're trying to rethink and restructure our current Florida operations, how we can, so we can scale the cleanups down here, and do so in a way that is so predictable on, the sales of just, products like retail, so that we'll be able to have a long-lasting impact with our Florida operations. So that's coming back online right now. I think the positives, it's tough. We've been challenged harder. This has been some of the hardest, decisions, hardest discussions, hardest we've ever worked. The team has ever worked, during this pandemic, and it's really put everybody to the test. And I think some of the positives that I would see is just seeing our team come together and seeing people rally. It's been unbelievable. We've been forced to work from home, and I'm talking about our corporate headquarters here in Boca. We've all been forced to work from home, and just the team has done an unbelievable job just stepping up, and everybody's putting in that extra effort and that extra work, and we're just working so well as a team. And I think, if you would have asked me 6 months ago to say, hey, the entire company, you're not going to see anyone from the entire company for 4 or 5 months, but you guys are going to, continue to run the business, I would have thought you're crazy. And it's unbelievable to see what we've been able to accomplish as a team, utilizing technology, Skypes, Slack channels, and all these different things. It's amazing to see everybody, work together. And I'm just incredibly stoked for the team. I can't give them enough love. Everybody's been doing such an amazing job, and I'm so stoked that our cleanup teams are back online. But I will say I cannot wait to get out and get back to our cleanup operations. I was supposed to go to Bali for a couple of weeks and spend time with our team over there, but the COVID situation hit. So as soon as travel restrictions lift, I'm beyond stoked to get out there and go spend time with all the members out there.
Yeah. So as these changes have occurred, what have you guys done as far as new programs, new initiatives, things to adjust and still engage the community? That's one thing we've thought a lot about is, people with cystic fibrosis they've been living since whenever they were diagnosed, right? They're professional social distancers, and they have been some form of isolation at some point, whether it was during, a hospitalization or, they were wearing masks before wearing masks was the thing, So have there been any changes as far as, how you're engaging the Four Ocean community and how people can get involved and still support the efforts at this time?
So that's what we're working through right now. You might notice that, we haven't had any of our community-based cleanups in a while. and that's, due to COVID, as well as just not having the ability to have, a 8-10 person team, planning these events right now. And until we have the ability to, set up and structure those events appropriately with social distancing and all these different things, they're just on pause right now. So we're currently working through the strategy and working together as a team to come out with a game plan on how we can, exactly like you said, engage with the community and have people to be able to come out, clean the ocean, spend some time, learn a little bit about plastic pollution and what they can personally do to have an impact on the ocean plastic crisis. But right now we're really just, trying to focus on our core business and be able to expand it and get a little bit of a cushion to the point where we have the ability to weather the storm. And that's the most important part for us.
Right. Now, we've got a few questions from some of the viewers in the audience. So, Paul Smolchek asks, how hard is it to get a foreign country to first acknowledge and then jump on board with seeing this as a necessity?
Whew. Paul, what's going on, buddy? I cannot tell you how hard it is, to work with some of these countries. And it's not that they don't want to cooperate and work with us. And the countries have been amazing helping us out with our cleanup initiatives. But when we first started getting going, before anybody knew who we were, every time we'd go and have the conversation, there's so much that goes into starting a cleanup operation internationally. I mean, you think of the logistics of running a business here in the States. Now think of all of the difficulties of working in another country. I mean, the cultural differences, the time zone differences, the ability to manage remotely. I mean, it's so tough. But when we first got started and no one really knew who Forest was, they're like, we'd go and we'd see these locations, say, all right, we want to start this cleanup location. We want to start a cleanup headquarters. And almost every single time it was just like, what's the catch? Yeah, you guys want to come here? You want to clean? What am I missing here? And we just said, like, this is our business model. Right. We're set up a cleanup infrastructure. And that's what we, this is who we are. We're Four Ocean, And I think that it was incredibly difficult. But what we're seeing now and kind of going back to that whole discussion as far as, leveraging a brand to create change. Initially it was just like, you just kind of want to clean. I don't really, but now it's a matter of like, it's a movement. So, the countries are amazing to work with. And they're very supportive in helping us, set up these operations and assisting in any way that they can. But I will say that it is very tough, from a cultural perspective to get individuals to adopt a more sustainable lifestyle. And in a lot of instances, it's not their fault, right? A lot of times it's not economically possible. Like they don't have the opportunity to have the luxury of, reusable items or to have sanitary items in order to get food, water, medicine. I mean, it's, a lot of these things there's no waste management infrastructure in place. They don't have the necessary recycling means. And it's just like, it's a never ending cycle. So that's what we're trying to break. And I mean, leveraging the brand to be able to have impact all across the board, with upstream initiatives. One of the biggest things that we talk about is, cleaning the ocean alone, or I'm sorry, just cleaning the ocean will not end the ocean plastic crisis. It's going to take cooperation from governments, corporations, brands, and most importantly, consumers to end the ocean plastic crisis. And I think that there's so many steps that need to be put in place all across the board to really have an impact. So it's been tough, working in these different areas, but we're trying to find realistic and affordable and sustainable solutions. And that's one thing that we've been trying to do is, commoditize the plastic. If we can create a value with all of that waste and create a product that people want around the world, we can start to create a demand for that material. And, obviously that's not going to scale out of the entire world. And 4Ocean is going to be able to end the ocean plastic crisis by itself. There's no way that'd be able to happen. But if we can, collectively all around the world start moving in that more sustainable direction, then the impact that we can have is unbelievable. So it is very tough, to get into these different international areas, and each, comes with its own struggles. But you just got to push through.
Fantastic. That was a great response. Thank you, Paul, and
Paul.
thank you, Alex, for fielding the question. We've got another interesting question that was text to me. What is the weirdest or strangest thing that any of the cleanup crews have found out in their field work?
Whew. Man. Okay. So there's a couple things there. I don't even know if I'm allowed to say it, but they've found in Bali they found a dead body floating. We've seen a bunch of crazy items. I mean, in Fort Lauderdale, for some reason, people love throwing those rentable scooters into the river and into the ocean. It was unbelievable. We had stacks of those reusable scooters, at our cleanup facility here in Florida. And I never understood, people are I think there was like an Instagram page of people just wrecking those scooters. And it was just like ridiculous. But I think personally, one of the things that I think is the craziest, when we first got going, we were really kind of analyzing the trash that we're finding. It's unbelievable finding pieces of plastic that, come from different continents and come from different areas around the world, literally travel the open ocean and end up right on our doorstep. And I think that is some of the craziest stuff to think of, how plastic, it doesn't break down. It takes hundreds and hundreds of years for it to break down. So it's just floating, when it gets up offshore, it's floating around and traveling the world and literally ending up on our back doorstep. And I think that's one of the craziest things, personally. I'm sure our team could say, tell you some crazy things that they've found as well. But, they find some crazy stuff out there.
Well, I recently read an article that actually my dad cut it out of the newspaper. This was just from last week, and it was about how they were testing the soil in different national parks in the U.S. and they were testing for, I think, like phosphorus levels, different levels of minerals and things in the soil. And they ended up discovering that there were all of these microplastics and particulates and a ton of them. And what they determined is that they're coming down out of the atmosphere in the rain now. It's literally raining plastic all over the world. Like you said, that's traveling from other places, and it's being down, but it's not in a way.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. There's some of those, there's some findings and some research right now that they're saying that's estimated that we're eating, I think it's a credit card worth of plastic a week. All these microplastic pieces are being found in the food we eat and the water we drink, and they're ending up, everywhere. And I think that's where, we're trying to just really show the impact of single-use plastics. It's unbelievable to think. And one thing that we really want to clarify with is plastic itself is not the enemy. Plastic in its utility and its design is an amazing material, right? It's lightweight, it's durable, it's cheap to manufacture, it can last, it's weatherproof. I mean, it's an amazing material. It's the application that needs to be rethunk and readdressed. When you think of single-use plastics, if you make something that's a plastic item that's designed to be used for 50 years, the chances of that the amount of that item polluting the environment are incredibly low. But when you think of all the single-use plastics that people are using for a matter of a few seconds, grocery bags for a couple minutes, water bottles for a few minutes, all these different disposable, we call it, the wasteful plastic, just the packaging, the sachets, all that stuff. That is what's really causing the damage to the environment. And it's not plastic as a whole. It's really the application that the plastic is used. So we really are trying to push forward, single-use plastics it's what's ending up in our oceans. It's the waste the waste that people don't have the ability to manage. There's not the waste management infrastructure in place. And it's this material that's ending up in these gutters, rivers, and streams. And when it rains and floods, all that plastic is being taken offshore. So, it's unbelievable to see, but that's, that plastic is slowly breaking down into microplastic. And exactly as you said, it's even ending up in the rain, in the middle of nowhere.
So you guys have a lot of innovative ways to collect the debris once it's out there. Has there been anybody, any employees or anybody from the general public who has brought you guys an idea that you've adopted and put into use, or any kind of really crazy out there technology or ways, or, to contraptions to collect or capture more trash?
Yeah, so we actually have a few different machines right now that we're working with this group of engineers that we're manufacturing these machines to collect plastic. And right now we're waiting to try and send the mobile skimmer. It's a big, it's a vessel with twin outboards that has like a conveyor belt type system on it and actuating hydraulic arms. And that's used to collect large amounts of, the videos on our YouTube, if you want to take a look at it, but we haven't had the opportunity to really put it into use where it was specifically designed for, because the South Florida waterways right now, they're canals, right? It's not a big open area. So if you have this large machine trying to maneuver to grab one or two bottles, it's not very efficient. We find that a captain and crew are way more efficient with nets and being able to maneuver. But once that vessel gets to areas like Bali, where we're seeing football fields of plastic on the ocean, just wide open, huge accumulations of plastic. That's what that machine is designed for. And we're constantly looking to innovate and find new ways to clean the ocean. And one thing that we're working on right now is boom systems. Rivers are accounting for a massive amount of plastic that's ending up in the ocean. And what we're trying to do is target these high impact areas where there's a lot of plastic and debris that's being transported from these cities into these rivers and streams that I was mentioning, and that's ending up going down the rivers and ending up in the ocean. And that's where we want to be able to implement boom systems, which are, think of an oil spill containment boom. It's a big barrier that goes across a river and helps divert plastic over into an area where a team can collect it before it travels out the river and into the ocean. And the Rio Motagua is actually a river located in Guatemala that we're targeting. That's one of the reasons why we went to Guatemala, is because there's a massive amount of plastic ending up offshore. So we're constantly looking at new, innovative, and creative ways to collect and stop plastic from entering in the ocean, but as well as trying to show the world that consumerism and the consumption of single-use plastics, those are the source, right? We mentioned stop it at the source, but we could be cleaning the ocean 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, but we're just sitting on a treadmill. There's so much plastic that's entering the ocean. If we don't turn off the tap and stop plastic at the source, then there's going to be a continual flow of this plastic in the ocean. And one of the analogies that I really enjoy is you walk into your kitchen, the sink is overflowing, your floor is completely soaked. What do? You grab a mop and start mopping right away, or no, you turn off the tap, assess the damage, and then start cleaning. And that's essentially what we have to do with plastic. We've got to turn off the tap on the plastic that's being consumed and ending up in our oceans.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. So we've got a few minutes left in the show, and I want to make sure we take the opportunity to really talk about how people can get involved. And I know on the website, I saw the Pound Plus initiative. Could you tell us a little bit more about that and some of the other programs that people right now, if they can't obviously go to a beach cleanup, be at an event, what can they do to still do their part and to support 4Ocean and the efforts?
Sure. So for every product purchase, we remove 1 pound of trash from the ocean. So we've got We've got bracelets made from post-consumer recycled materials. We've got all of our sustainable alternatives, so cups, shopping bags, and the cleanup gear, and as well as what you mentioned is the Pound Plus program. We received an overwhelming amount of interest in people that said, listen, I don't want to purchase a bracelet, but I'd rather, I want to see you guys remove a pound of trash from the ocean and support all the other great things that you guys got going on. And so we launched the Pound Plus program, which is, for $10, you can remove a pound of trash from the ocean, as well as, help fund all of our cleanup programs, our technologies, our education programs, and continue the expansion of 4Ocean as a whole. So if anybody is interested, 4Ocean.com, you can take a look at the products. We reach out to our customer service team. We've got an awesome team that'll help you back to you, and they'll help you out with any questions that you have. And, and we'll get to clean it. It's what we do.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for sharing that. And so as we land the plane here, any final thoughts or shout outs out there to the world as we sign off here on the Epic Love Show?
I think we covered a lot of it. It's really just, don't underestimate the impact that individuals can have. Creating that movement all across the world as far as the clean ocean movement. It's little steps, little actions collectively add up to huge impact. So I think that's one of the biggest things. And I should say, stay passionate, stay fired up, and make sure you guys come out to the next crossing for Kira. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, thank you very much, Alex. Well, we appreciate you taking the time to join us on the Epic Love Show and share your inspiring story of love through action. Truly a story of bringing your heart and soul to an initiative that has helped change local and global communities and built a community. So thank you very much for everything you do and cleaning the oceans that we're paddling across each year.
No problem, Travis.
And hopefully you'll be paddling across next year.
Absolutely, man. I will be there. But thank you so much. I appreciate it. And keep up the great work, man. Love what you guys are doing. And thank you so much for having me on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you, Alex. And check out 4Ocean on Instagram. Check them out on Facebook. Make sure you follow, subscribe to their YouTube channel. They've got an entire library of really polished content that they put together on their cleanup efforts. You can learn a lot from watching those videos. I know I did. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you for your questions and your comments. We really appreciate the support of the show itself. Make sure you go to the Epic Love Show YouTube channel and you click subscribe and share it with your friends. Just, your friends and family while you're still at home in quarantine or being safe. Please invite them to join the show each week and our mission of, bringing forth more love and compassion in the world. And if you ever have an idea of a guest you think has an inspiring story that you'd like to share with us, please reach out. Let us know. We're happy to have them on. As always, keep promoting the positive, and we will see you next week on Epic Love.
Yeah. Spread the love all over the world. All God's people, spread